Elvis Presley, John Denver. Which one sang the most about Colorado? Well, you might find out, and I don't know about that, with Jim Jefferies. Who was it, Jack? Who was it? Who sang?
John Denver?
Hey, Jack doesn't need to know anything. He already knows all the things. This podcast isn't for you, but if you're one of these dummies at home who didn't know the answer to that, keep listening. You're our demo. I'm here with Kelly and Forrest. How are you going? You're both looking good. You're looking very sun-kissed at the moment.
I was outside on my roof for a while this week.
What were you doing some tar work?
I was doing some mushrooms. By myself, looking at trees.
I know the old roof's always a good place to do mushrooms. Something with no railings, where you think you can fly.
Well,
what a good space to be in.
It's the rooftop patio, so I have like a really great view of all the trees, and that's my favorite thing to do on mushrooms. Just stare at nature.
When your brother, I'm not going to say anymore. I don't know how much he likes to disclose about his life on our podcast.
All right.
He's been pretty open about the heroin.
Okay. I wanted to say something real quick. By the time this comes out, it'll be like, I guess, 2 weeks old. But Dustin Diamond died, also, a.k.a. Screech from Saved by the Bell. And I knew him a little bit. And I went online after he passed away. And I feel like people were talking mad shit about a guy that was 44 that died from cancer.
Yeah, and never smoked.
Yeah.
Died of lung cancer.
Yeah,
like fucking unlucky, man.
And so he was doing stand-up in his later. He was famously like a child actor on a very popular show. I'm sure did not make too much money from that show.
That show is renowned for the kids all got ripped off. I saw a True Hollywood Story thing on it. They all got ripped off.
Now, many of them have had good careers after. Mario Lopez and that other fucking guy. I don't fucking remember his name.
Mark
The stripper lady.
Yeah, she had a couple movies.
She lives near me somewhere. She came by on Halloween.
Did she?
Yeah. Wow. She lives somewhere around.
Hey. And so Dustin Diamond started doing stand-up afterwards, and he used his bit of fame that he had to draw people in, and people did attend the shows, but he wasn't doing like, the big, theaters or anything like that. So he was still like eking out a living, And I spent a week with him in a condo in northern Wisconsin. And before I went there, all these other comedians were like, I heard he's like a dick and this and that and whatever, and he's not going to let you sell your merch. And at the time, when you're a middle act, you got to sell your merch to survive. All this stuff that people told me they had heard about him and stuff. And I went there. I lived in a condo with him for a week. Super nice guy. Like brought my T-shirt on stage to help sell it. We would get drunk and fucking watch movies, hung out. He tried to get me management at a time. I didn't have management with his manager stuff. And what's that? Is that Screech coming back for Is that Dustin? There's a sound happening.
They probably can't hear it, but it's an ominous sound.
Turns out he doesn't want you to sell your T-shirts.
Yeah. Turns out he was a dick. He ran on the podcast. Anyways, I'm not saying he was perfect. I don't know everything that went on in his life. I know there was sometimes allegations of him not being the nicest person sometimes, but I that wasn't in my experience. And I just think when you're a child actor and then you had this, I mean, he was really famous for a while, and then he had to basically lived in Milwaukee and worked these shit clubs and stuff. I'm not giving him an excuse for things if they did, but I think that his life was tough.
People used him as a punching bag and a punchline to jokes, and then they said, "Oh, it's like your Screech is getting I'll tell you what that I've realised with the small amount of fame that I've had and famous people that I've known. Whenever someone says, "Oh, that person's an asshole," okay, think about your own life. When someone thinks you're an asshole. When someone says that you're an asshole, you normally think they're an asshole as well.
Yeah.
You're not getting along with that person, right? So if you come into contact with someone, so I'm friends with Russell Crowe. A lot of people go, "Oh, fucking Russell." Russell's one of the nicest, a bit eccentric, but one of the nicest fucking people you've ever met. And people always go on. And that's why I always defend the whole Ellen thing as well. Like, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. Maybe these people were assholes to her, or maybe there was some incident that happened at work that made her shut off from the rest of the crew. Who fucking knows?
Well, I think a lot of people probably think you're an asshole because of your comedy, but you're actually a very generous, nice person.
That's what I was trying to get to the whole time. It checks in the mail. So if any good came out of Dustin's death, it is that I'm a nice fella.
I'm just trying to get a raise.
It was like a year after I worked with him. He called me one time. It was in Vegas, and he said some guy had stolen my joke, and he was like, "You want me to do something about it?" I was like, "Hey, no, take it easy."
Is that the knife incident where you got the
But my point is like, that guy died from cancer when he was 44. I think had a life that peaked when he was very young. And obviously, we were just saying was like ripped off from that and then probably struggled through a lot of it. So maybe take it easy on him and death. And I know that he apologized to a lot of people a couple years, maybe 2-3 years ago, the people in the cast and stuff that maybe he had wronged and he said some shit about and stuff in his book. But anyways, try not to be a dick when people die. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough.
All right, which leads us to this ad.
Wait, no.
We have Jack's segment.
Oh, Jack's got a segment. Oh,
Yeah.
Holy hell, Carolyn. Here we go.
Make it quick, Jack.
It's Comment World.
Make it quick.
All right.
Comment World, it's Comment World. Reading comments off the internet in Comment World. Opinionated fucks, well, we don't give a shit. So fuck them in the ass and let's be done with it. It's Comment World.
Is that a new song?
No, that's Michael Miller.
Yeah. Don't say Michael Miller like you just said Quincy Jones or something. Like
He's the best.
All right, we'll start with some compliments. This is one of my new favorite podcasts. So glad I found it. It reminds me of the conversations I had with my students at the special needs school. That's a good thing because of how creative they are.
What us or the special needs kids? What
Sounds
are we
like an
talking about?
insult.
Yeah, it sounds like an insult to everybody.
Seems nice.
Yeah.
This person says, I went and did a line of coke and then liked everyone's comment to make everyone feel good about themselves. Give them what they want.
Give them what they want. Give them what they want.
Oh, yeah, I got to bring that back.
Yeah.
That's kind of fallen by the wayside.
In bold, it says, this podcast has a good format. He says, stick with it. Jack, he strikes me as a fine young man. Kelly and Forrest also come off as good folk, as does Jim. To be fair, perhaps, Jim is more open-wounded than the others, but that's probably the root of his comedy success. P.S. Forrest does strike me as a good lad, but then again, I wouldn't be shocked if a pile of bones belonging to young females were discovered under his house in 50 years.
Jesus.
The stinger being, the bones have been gnawed upon.
He kills the elderly.
Yeah. How does he know I have a crawl space in the house?
People like your t-shirts, Forrest. They say, Forrest out here representing good albums every other episode on his shirt.
We must have had some comments about your roast.
Yeah.
People love the roast.
Tons of comments.
Yeah, good job.
A lot of nice ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go on, give yourself one.
Let's go. Let's hear 'em.
One is, sorry, I'm going out of order.
He's so stressed out right
Keep
now.
Jack. He's important.
Right.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Keep Jackie's important. That's part of the ecosystem. Without him, it all crumbles.
So I know someone else did say, keep up the bullying.
We will.
Someone said, had to
worry
post
about
my
that.
comment straight after Jack finished the roast. This was too funny. Give him a cookie. That was legit a good roast. That roast had me on the floor. That roast segment had me in tears. Love Jack's roast voice and presence.
My wife loved the roast. She thought you were fantastic.
I've watched it so many times and it still makes me laugh out loud.
That was good.
Yeah, it's good
thank you,
work.
everybody.
Maybe your finest work.
Yeah. You should be a
It's possible.
roaster.
I'll try.
After that, we recorded that. We got in the elevator together, Jim and I, and Jim's like, maybe Jack, this is his wheelhouse here.
Yeah, insult comedy.
Yeah.
Hey, you in the audience. You look ugly.
All right, maybe not.
You have to work on it.
Yeah.
You gotta write those in advance.
You gotta plan them. I don't think off the cuffs you think.
No. I need to think in a room for a while.
Yeah.
People were very impressed in the anatomy episode that you got it on your first guest. People were saying, I spilled my coffee that you got on the first guest. People were excited that you nailed it.
She had a skull.
I was excited as well. Yeah, I was excited.
This is kind of a Kelly question, but it's just not sure if it's been asked previously, but who is the 4-photo collage above Kelly's right shoulder?
It's the Beatles.
Oh my God.
Anyone,
What do you mean?
anyone can answer that.
Yeah, I know.
Sort of a Kelly question.
It just had Kelly in the question.
This is my domain, so please.
Yeah. And now next week it's like, who are the Beatles?
Yeah. My
So-
grandmother painted this. Anybody was interested?
It's a nice
Yeah.
painting.
Yeah.
As you remember, you accidentally said Pablo Pascal as the Mandalorian.
I don't remember that.
But then we made a joke about it being Pablo Francisco, and people enjoyed that thought of Pablo Francisco being the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I know that some people got upset that I said Robert Plant was a cocaine taker and he died. I wasn't thinking of him. I was thinking of, I think Robert Palmer.
He's alive too.
No, who's the bloke who sang Simply Irresistible?
That's Robert Palmer.
No, he's dead.
He's dead?
He's all dead all day. He's been dead for well over a decade. You're like, but I bought a new album last week. No. He's been dead for a very long time.
All dead all day.
What I say about Screech? Don't make fun of him.
This is the last one for today. I'm not sure why this was commented. They went, this is on the cocaine episode.
By the way, Robert Palmer's estate, I have no evidence that he took cocaine. I would like to be sued. Thank you very much. That was allegedly, I was just making comments.
This person said, sitting on the shitter right now. Clean pinch, almost no skid marks on the toilet paper. Smells like milk, though. Might be drinking too much coffee. That's 3 thumbs up. Don't know why that was commented.
Feels like that was a comment for our podcast.
I think we'll end comment world on that one. You're not going to peak on that one. You got one better one you want to go, or you're good?
No, that's the one I wanted to end on.
All right, let's read some ads. We all shop online. All of us. Not me dad, though. He doesn't know how to turn a computer on. So, Gary, this episode isn't for you, mate. All right. We all shop online, and we've seen promo code Phil taunt us at checkout. But thanks to Honey, they've got some promos. Put them in the corner there, and you get the discounts here. Thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes, it's a thing of the past. Honey is the free browser extension that scores the internet for promo codes. And they know what they meant for us. Yeah. Promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Honey supports over 30,000 stores. I was about to say 300. It doesn't seem as impressive now. 30,000 stores online. They range from sites that have tech and gambling products to popular fashion brands and even food delivery. How it works? Thank you for asking the question. Imagine you're shopping at one of your favorite sites. So everyone just sit back in your chair and imagine you're shopping at your favorite site. When you get to checkout, the Honey button drops down. That's the noise it won't make. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is click apply coupons. Wait a few seconds as Honey searches for coupons. It can find for that site. If Honey finds a working coupon, you'll just watch the price drop.
Yeah,
just go down.
I installed it, and it's like what it does is it'll put 4 coupons on there, and then whichever one's the best, it'll insert it. It's awesome.
What did you buy?
I was buying pet meds for flea medicine, and it saved me I think $10 or something like that, or $15.
When you get a dog, you're going to be so ready. Just been buying collars for years. Honey has found it's over 17 million members. 17 million members. They've saved them $2 billion in savings. $2 billion. Crazy. This is big savings to come. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out on free savings. It's literally free to install, and it only takes seconds. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this podcast. Get Honey for free. Join Honey. Go to joinhoney.com/IDK. Put the /IDK in there because ironically, Honey doesn't have a promo code thing. They only give you, it's a long story. That's honey.com.
That's joinhoney.com.
Joinhoney.com/IDK. Joinhoney.com/IDK. And thank you for supporting this podcast. Now, the one. You like meat? I love meat. It's right up there with all the other foods. Probably number one in many ways. Yeah. We got a butcher box, man. We got butcher box. They gave me butcher box. I don't eat the pork anymore, but I slipped a bit of. I had some of the pork, the pulled pork with the barbecue sauce.
Have you tried it already?
Yeah, I ate that. But I gave Jack all my other pork products. He left the house just the bacon.
Bacon's great.
Oh, they had ribs, and everything in my box was grass fed. I'm on a grass fed thing, and I had great beef and stuff like that. And I have chicken breasts that were organic, grass fed. Yeah. Chicken breasts that were as big as a house. I'm like, how do they do this without steroids? They're fantastic.
You need to have a barbecue at your house.
Okay, so let's talk about how it can be hard to find 100% grass-fed finished beef, free-range organic chickens, heritage pork breeds, or wild-caught salmon in the grocery store. It's a fucking nightmare. It's a nightmare. You're wandering around. No one wants to help you. No one wants to help you. Like you stay 6 feet away from me. That's what they used to say to me 2 years ago. Luckily, today's sponsor, ButcherBox, believes that everyone deserves high-quality, humanely sourced meat. ButcherBox couldn't be easier. Just sign up, select your box, and they ship it to you right to your door every month. And when you sign up, you get 2 New York steaks and 1 pack of bacon for free. Now you're getting bacon and steaks. You can get the steaks, wrap the bacon in it. You got yourself a nice little meal there all day. You'll impress someone. Who doesn't love free steaks? Hey, who doesn't love free steaks? Vegetarians, the vegans,
pescatarians,
people who are on their last sort of 30 minutes of life. They're like dying. They're not asking about steak.
Maybe last meal.
Yeah.
No, but if they're like their organs are shutting down,
You're thinking of death row.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I thought there was. They usually get a steak.
If you have a special friend on death row, maybe Butcher Box is for you. So, as I said, I already had the products. I'm telling you, best meat I've ever eaten. It's fantastic, and it all came, and it was all frozen and ready to go, and it straight to the house. And I really wanted the ribs, but I'm trying not to eat the pork. And Jack's got the ribs.
We're making them on Super Bowl Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday ribs, and the ribs have no antibiotics or hormones ever. Each box has 911 pounds. Oh, wait a minute. 9.11 pounds.
9 to 11.
9 to 11. Not 911 pounds.
God damn it.
Each box has 9 to 11 pounds of meat. Enough for 24 individual meals, or 12 if you're hanging out with my fatty friends. Packed fresh and shipped frozen and vacuum sealed so it stays that way. I can custom my box with one of the other ones. Either way, I get exactly what I want from the Butcher Box. Butcher Box is a no-brainer. It's the best meat shipped right to your door, which means one less trip to the grocers. Options like 100% grass-fed and finished beef, free-range chicken, heritage pork, wild-caught Alaskan salmon, and sugar nitrate-free bacon. I didn't even know they made that. It's the way meat should be. The way meat should be. For a limited time, Butcher Box is offering new members 2 New York steaks and a packet of bacon for free in your first box. But this is how you get it. You have to go to butcherbox.com/IDK. Put the IDK/IDK. That's butcherbox.com/IDK to get 2 New York steaks and a packet of bacon for free with your first box.
Please welcome our guest this week, Kati Morton.
Hello, Kati. Thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jim.
Okay, Kati's American. I already know that much. I'm all over this.
Crushing it.
I'm crushing. We've had a lot of British guests of late.
Yeah, we have.
It's good to hear an American voice. All these British people with their knowledge and they always sound smarter. I've always said that's why the British, they get their work in America because you think they're smart.
It is one of the smartest accents, or smartest sounding accents.
They're allowed to be villains in movies. I can't be a villain. You can't show up and go, all right, you fuckers, this is what's going to happen here. You're all in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Mr. Bond, I was expecting you. No,
you never mistake an Australian or Southern person for being really smart.
No, South Africans can be villains. They can be villains all day. You can throw a South African out there to tell you off about something wrong that you've done. But if you're New Zealanders, they can't even be gardeners with their accents. Anyway.
So Kati Morton's here.
Anyway, so hello, Kati. This is a section we do called Judging a Book by Its Cover.
Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
All right.
That's the song we have.
That's the song. Okay. Now, normally we
say yes, no, because you're supposed to ask yes, no questions.
I know, it's yes, no questions, but normally what I do is I try to judge your background, your backdrop, and normally there's books or something that I can look at, or there's a little statue or a doll of some description. But at the moment you have a stripey-ish sort of painting that tells me nothing. Maybe you work for Etsy. But are you a professor?
No.
No. Is your expertise something that people would call an intellectual pursuit?
Yes.
Oh, it's an intellectual pursuit. All right. So it's not fast food or any of the things like that. Do you give lectures?
Yes.
Okay. Have you written books?
Yes.
Okay. Have you written over 2 books?
My second one will come out this September.
Oh, okay. Does it involve the human body? We always talk about the human body on this show. Obsessed we are.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Here we go.
We always do.
No, we just had anatomy.
We just did an anatomy episode, yeah.
And then we did a cocaine one recently.
That's
God
about the
help.
human body.
Cocaine trafficking is what
It's
it was.
all, there's people carrying it.
Yeah, I guess in the human body, they do carry it.
The body's always involved.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you want a hint? I can give you an easy one. Well, first of all, Katie is something you were just talking about. That I was watching her while you were just talking about something before we started recording, and I was thinking, oh.
All right, she's fighting with my wife as well.
No, she's in that realm, and then within that realm is our subject.
And that's our episode. Jim's fighting with his wife.
Marriage counseling?
Well, yeah. So let's just say if you would go to see someone about this, like
You've been affected by this.
a therapist or a counselor.
I've been affected by this.
Yeah.
Has it got to do with? I give up. I don't know.
Well, it's very, and put it this way, we recently did an episode on cocaine, and then the next day, this happens.
Oh, you kick the girl out of your house.
How do you feel?
Oh, depression.
That's
depression.
it. That's our
I'm the
subject.
king of depression.
That's
I
our
love
subject.
a bit of depression. I jump in the deep end and have a good swim with it.
That's our subject today. Katie Morton, LMFT, holds a master's in clinical psychology from Pepperdine University and is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She runs a private practice in Santa Monica, California. So, maybe.
All right.
Katie is well known for her YouTube channel, Katie Morton, which has over 1 million subscribers and over 75 million views. She also has a podcast, Ask Katie Anything. And she also has a book available. Are You Okay? A Guide to Caring for Your Mental Health, How to Know If You Need Help and Where to Find It, released in December 2018. As she said, she has a book coming out in September, and you can find her at Katie Morton on IG and Twitter. That's KATIMORTON. Thanks for being here, Katie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and usually we ask a little bit, if you can give a little bit of background of what you've been up to, what led you here into this subject. So.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed, even as a kid, like a young teenager, I love being the secret keeper. I mean, part of it might be because at that age you love gossip and you love drama and you want to know about it. But part of what I enjoyed the most was like being the vault. Like nothing would leave. I would never tell anybody your business. And I always liked that my friends would come to me and to talk about things. And so that's kind of, I guess you could say, where my interest in psychology was formed. And then my high school offered, I want to say it was my junior or senior year, they offered like an intro to psychology. And once I took that class, I was hooked. And then, undergrad, really enjoyed it. Before I went to graduate school, I actually worked at this is going to sound very intense, so just hang with me. It was intense, but I worked just off of Skid Row in a parenting or pregnant teen foster home. And we had, I want to say 62 girls, and then they had multiple children. And so that was kind of to see if I could hack it, if I enjoyed actually being, at the time I was a counselor, because I wasn't licensed, didn't have my master's degree, and loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. And so, then flash forward to getting into graduate school. One of my first jobs, because I put myself through school, and school's really expensive. Jeez. Yeah. Thanks for nothing, people. But parents couldn't pay for that, understandably so. But I started working a job, the only job I could find that would pay me. And it was at an eating disorder treatment center. And that's kind of that's my specialty. I specialize in eating disorders and self-injury.
Forrest beat anorexia himself. It was pretty good.
That's amazing. And so, and
he really crushed it.
Rude.
And it was around that time my husband wanted to start he was my boyfriend at the time, but he was like, you should put some of this information on YouTube. And so flash forward, here we are almost 9 years later.
Yeah.
1 million followers. That's very impressive. Or subscribers. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. It doesn't feel that crazy because people, YouTube's wild. People have like tens of millions. So.
We don't. 200,000. So.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's
that's also good.
That's fine.
But also, Jim, I get so many messages to either the podcast account or the old show account and stuff like that. And so many people write in that you helped them with their depression, because you were public about your own struggles, but also just you bring joy to people. So this was definitely an episode worth doing because so many people look up to you when it comes to dealing with depression.
They look up to me when it comes to being sad.
Yeah.
That guy's really nailed
You're
it.
the ideal sad for them.
I'm an inspiration to people. They're like, at least I'm not him.
Well, you've talked about it in your specials.
I've been on and off of antidepressants, and I'm not on them at the moment, but I've suffered from depression. I've had suicidal thoughts and all that type of stuff. I'm quite open about all that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we're going to see how much you know about depression. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a weird thing to be like, how much do you know about depression? If you don't know a lot, it'll make you sad. And I'll ask you some questions, and, I'm sure there'll be, like Kelly was saying yesterday on our phone call with Katie, it might be a little more conversational, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, I don't know what the chemical imbalances and stuff like that, so that'll be interesting.
We'll see. And then, so when he's done talking, you can grade him 0 through 10, Katie, on his accuracy, 10 being the best, and Kelly grade him 0 through 10 on confidence, and I grade him 0 through 10 on et cetera. We'll add them all together, and I make these funny categories normally, but I just really don't feel like talking about it today, so I'm not gonna. I'm not even gonna make the categories. I know I was gonna do those, but I'm not. So. Yeah. Anyways.
All right.
Damn, you're already depressed.
Ask away.
What is depression?
Depression is it's a form of, it's when you're sad, basically. That's the thing that you've got to, you can't pick yourself up. For me, it forms itself in not being able to get out of bed, or my brain being on a loop that I can't turn off, where I have constant thoughts or paranoia or something like that leads to me self-hate and stuff like that. But I'm sure it forms in different people in different ways.
All right, so are there different types of depression?
There are different types. There's people who just see. I have a relative who is manic depressive, which bipolar is the other term for that, and that's the depression where you have times of real lowness, and then you're really high, and you're this, and you're excited, and you want to do different things, and and then the extreme highs and extreme lows, where I just have lows that last a long time.
Okay.
So I'm not bipolar, no.
Any other kind of depression? Manic depression. Okay, I got that. What causes it, do you know?
Well, it can be caused by many things. It can be caused by things that you've done to yourself. Like it can be it's a genetic thing that if you have depression in your family, there's a higher chance that you'll have depression as well. It can be caused just by, there can be nature and nurture. There can be sometimes just a chemical imbalance in your brain that you have a higher disposition to being depressed. Also, it can just be that the world's crushed you, I think, and then you can't get out of it. Some people deal with their emotions better than others. And for me, that's what I've sort of learned about depression is that, as I said, I jump in the deep end sometimes. I wallow in it and splash around, and I really shouldn't do that because that's not healthy.
Not me. I'm perfect.
I've gotten better. I'm better now than I was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was real touch and go with me for whether I was going to commit suicide or not. Like really close.
10 years ago?
Yeah, maybe 10, 12 years ago. Yeah. I was very close.
That's like when I met you.
Yeah.
So
that's,
interesting.
And then things turned around.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe, like I said, I'm perfect.
I know that success and money and all that type of stuff doesn't get rid of it. I know that doesn't change anything. And then I've had it at times in my life where things are going really well. So I can't even put my finger on why it happens. Mm-hmm. And then when it sneaks up on you and how long it's going to last for. Because I'll have really good runs where I think I've got it under control and I don't even need to see a doctor. I don't need any medication. I've got it all under control. And then I just tip off the cliff a little bit, and then once you fall, you can't really. I liken it to the same way that when you fall in love, you can't stop it. When you meet someone, you fall in love, that's why it's called falling. Yeah. Because you're just like, everything's just happening and you can't control it. And it's the same thing as when I fall into a pit of depression, I can't control it. Things are just happening to me.
So what, you maybe already did this. If somebody else, what are signs and symptoms of depression?
Well, it depends on the person, but as I said, there's the big one is no motivation to do anything, to get up to. I get so depressed that sometimes I don't want to go to a therapist because that seems like too much effort to make the call and to actually get there. And to drive down there. I've actually found that the Zoom therapy sessions for depression suit me down to a T. Because
right.
you get straight onto it.
Yep.
You're bloody straight in there, which is one of our advertisers, by the way. But that's neither here nor there. But I find that to be. But other symptoms, I don't know what other people have symptoms. It's just for me. It's a obsessing, and you can't get your brain off of one track of what's making you sad or something like that.
Well, okay. So what's the difference between depression and sadness?
Sadness is a thing that comes and goes, and you should be sad every now and again. There's things that are worthy to be sad of. Depression is like clinical depression is a thing that sticks with you for a lot longer, and you can't really get out of, and often you need medical attention to actually get to the other side. Where sadness isn't something that you need to see a doctor about.
All right. And I'm asking a couple more questions because I think we'll just get to a lot of these as we're talking. Is depression considered a mental illness?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe it's considered a mental illness in the same way that like schizophrenia or something like that. And I know that bipolar is definitely considered to be a mental illness, but just clinical depression, I think so, yeah. I think so. But I don't think it's a thing that you need to worry about if you're employing someone or something like that. I think it's a very manageable thing, depression, as long as you stay on track.
Okay, I was going to ask
Keep
you.
on top of it.
I was going to ask you if it's genetic. You said it was.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
I believe depression's genetic.
And then, how can it be treated? You mentioned a few things.
Well, therapy's the probably the best one, and then there's things that can change your serotonin and all that type of stuff in your mind, and different tablets, and you got your classic, your Prozacs and your Klonopins and all that type of stuff. And some people use anti-anxiety drugs like Xanax and stuff like that to try to stop because anxiety and depression are very close. They're related in a way. They sort of hang out with each other.
All right. Can children have depression?
Yeah, of course, children can have depression. Yeah.
And then let's say this: who is at risk for depression? Like, what group is most likely to be affected? For example, like men, women, older, younger, any specific race?
I see. I might be wrong. I believe it's slightly higher in men. I have theories on depression. I believe that depression also sort of peaks. I think I read somewhere the peaks around 44 is where depression really peaks for people.
That's not good. I peaked at 17.
A lot of people start to sort of say, "Oh, well, that's when the midlife crisis happens," or whatever. But I have theories on this. I believe that's when. Okay, so there's optimism in your 20s that you think, I'm going to make it, I'm going to take over the world. You get depressed that things aren't happening. And then like when you're 44, you start to go, fuck, I'm not going to do this. And if I'm going to do it, I have to do it now. And then I think your depression sort of goes away in your mid-50s and up because you go, well, I didn't make it. What are you going to do? Right? Because my dad quite openly suffered from depression very badly, at an extreme level. And he's the happiest old fella you'll ever meet these days.
Yeah.
I think he just got to the other side.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let's ask one more question, then we'll get to some other stuff. Or actually two more. What is postpartum depression?
That's what happens to women after they give birth to a baby. Not all women, but some women get postpartum depression. Sometimes it's because...
But why? Like what happens?
Well, I'm sure there's a chemical involved and I'm sure there's a thing, but like my experience of knowing people who have had it and stuff like that, sometimes people, I think it's, and this is going to not make me very popular, for some people they've lost their freedom and maybe their body isn't looking as good as they was. And then they start thinking that they're not an individual anymore and they're only seen as a mum and they used to have a life and people saw them outside of this world. I think all these contributing factors just sort of, oh shit, there's a bit that goes on.
Okay, and then depression as a whole, can it be cured?
I don't believe you can cure. Like, I think people can have depression in their life and then they can stop having depression, but I don't believe you can cure it and cure it. I think it's something that you always have to be on the lookout for if you've suffered from it before.
Okay. This is like the most seriously you've ever taken these questions.
Yeah.
No,
it's a serious topic.
Yeah, I know. Maybe that or autism.
That's true.
You treaded lightly on autism. You didn't want to. Okay.
Any of the ones where you're like, I could possibly offend somebody right now. You're like, let me take this seriously.
Coca-Cola, you're all over the place. All right, all right, Katie. So on a 0 to 10, how did Jim do on depression, his accuracy?
I think he did pretty well. I'd give him like a 7.
All right. Yeah. Wish I could have gotten bigger.
Well, the symptoms were a little lacking, because you were like, well, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's this way. And so there are definitely a lot more symptoms. But
yeah,
that's great.
I don't know what it is for other people. I just know what I've gone through for myself, but I don't know what it is for other people.
What about confidence?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't come off like super confident, but I think you know what's going on. So I would give you a 7. You seemed a little depressed. I mean, honestly.
Just thought it'd be a funner subject.
Our last 2 subjects were astrology and cocaine trafficking.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
What is next week's episode like? Hemorrhoids and why they won't go away.
No cure.
Basically, this is all just an intervention for you.
You'll do well. No, I don't know what our next week's is. I forgot. But okay, and etc. I'm going to give you 100, Jim, because I want you to feel good about yourself. And I'm going to take you out for ice cream afterwards.
Oh, that's cute.
No, but the food doesn't help it, man. The food is a short-term fix.
Yeah.
The food makes you fat. The fat makes you fucking depressed, and it's a vicious cycle. But the food does help out in the short term.
Fair enough.
I don't think there's anything in the world that helps out me more alcohol. People self-medicate. I self-medicated with alcohol for years.
Yeah, but we've talked about this, about would you rather be able to, what was it, eat food and not get fat and not have sex anymore? What was the thing we did a whole...
Yeah, okay, so the 2 options is you can have sex with whoever you want, whenever you want, right? And you won't get any STDs. No one's getting pregnant unless you want them to or anything like that. But you can't eat. Or you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and you won't get fat.
Oh, eating.
Easy.
Easy.
Yeah, forget about it. Go away.
All right,
I
so...
won't even need other people on the planet.
Sex is so overrated.
Tell me about it.
All right, that's you can't see him, Katie. That's Jack, who's had sex once.
Three times.
Three times, Forrest.
You had a third?
No, 3 times 2 girls. That's the thing. 3
right.
times 2
Count
girls.
The sitcom
Count it.
nobody wants to watch. Okay.
No,
you
yeah, because
can't-
none of them are talking to me.
You can't see Jack, but he should be depressed. Hey.
Hey.
Hey. New year, new you in 2021. Don't just make a commitment to wash your hands every time you poop. Go the extra mile and wash your asshole. Because I've always thought, why am I washing my hands when I lick so many assholes in the regular? The future of toileting has arrived. Okay, it's technically been around for centuries, but hideously expensive, costing thousands. Now, the brand new Hello Tushy 3.0 modern bidet attachment is here to level the playing field. It's stylish, it's eco-friendly, easy to install, and affordable. That's the Hello Tushy 3.0. Doesn't just clean your butt with a precise stream of fresh, clean water. It cleans yourself. So I would argue that my arsehole is now the cleanest part of my body.
It is.
I actually wash my hand in my arsehole because the Tushy does such a good job. It cleans itself before and after using a smart spray automatic self-cleaning nozzle. It attaches to your existing toilet, requires no electricity or additional plumbing, and cuts your toilet paper down by, what do you reckon? What percentage? Say out a percentage. I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
80%.
95%.
Forrest is right. He's got the ad read in front of him, but it's 80%.
No, I wasn't reading it.
No, it's 80%. So the Hello Tushy bidet pays for itself in a few months. Because the Hello Tushy you don't wipe at all, just poop and spray. Well, poop. You don't like poop and spray.
Don't
sounds
poop
bad.
and spray, yeah.
Just poop, spray, they spray you, dry and go. And sanitation is simple. The schmutz shield. Is that a
Schmutz shield, yeah.
Yeah, the
That's
schmutz
awesome.
shield.
Yeah.
The schmutz
That's
shield.
awesome.
Hey, a schmutz shield.
It's hard to say.
Oy vey schmutz shield offers easy cleaning, and the knobs, that's be me and the knobs, naturally
Microbial.
Microbial. I have that in all my ads, that word. Plus, every Hello Tushy bidet attachment comes with a 60-day risk-free guarantee and a 12-month warranty. You can send it back. Go, I don't like this. It'll be covered in shit where you've sprayed all over it. Go, it's not for me, and they'll take it back. Already got a tush on your pot? Hey, you already got a Hello Tushy on your pot, on your little pot where you have your poo-poos? You already have your poo-poos on the toilet with the bidet?
What's
Hey,
happening?
why don't you upgrade with the new 3.0 model? Get your butt better. If you're new to the revolution, join millions of happy Hello Tushy customers right now and have a clean butt with every flush. Clean butt with every flush. So go to hellotushy.com/Jim to get 10% off wait a minute. Plus free shipping. Bloody hell.
You always get thrown off by that.
I know, but I can't believe the discounts that are coming your way. This is a special offer just to our listeners and to the other podcasts that they advertise on. Go to hellotushy.com/Jim. Don't put Whitney in. She's got enough money. put Jim in for 10% off. That's hellotushy.com/Jim. Okay, with all the stresses in life, acne shouldn't be one of them. From stubborn breakouts to the occasional pimples, Proactiv has you covered. Did you know that pimples do not happen overnight? Acne always seems to appear out of nowhere or before a big event or whenever I'm on TV. Every time I got to be on fucking telly, bloody pimple right in the middle of me nose, right? But it can actually take weeks in the making before it shows up in your skin. It's living under there festering going, I'm going to come out when the right time happens. Ooh. You think you're having a good day? Fuck you, face. Fuck you. Wow. From stubborn breakouts to occasional pimples, Proactiv has you covered. Proactiv combines gentle skincare paired with clinically proven acne-fighting ingredients to treat your skin. Find the right Proactiv system for you. Proactiv has 3 different systems designed for your skin type, right? Proactiv solution number 1, the original system, suitable for all skins. All skins. Probably Forrest has a bit of his body that it wouldn't work on. But for most of us, all of the thing.
Not sure what that means.
There's just I'll tell you off mic. Proactiv. Oh no, he's angry. Okay. Proactiv Plus
Organizing.
For the sense. Oh no, this one might be for you, the sensitive skin types. And then there's a special one that Jack's bought for me for the thin skin. And then there's number 3, Proactiv MD prescription strength for stubborn breakouts. You know the type of people who their skin's no good. They need the number 3. Get that clear skin feeling. Woo, woo, woo. Proactiv acne treatment systems have clinically proven ingredients to clear skin and they're dermatologist tested to be gentle. There's a Proactiv for you. Dermatologist tested Proactiv has 3 different acne fighting systems designed for your skin type. Right now, it's a great time to try Proactiv. So be proactive and get Proactiv. For our podcast listeners, you can get a special limited time offer by going to Proactiv, that's proactiv.com/I-don't-know. Subscribe today.
/IDK.
Subscribe today and you'll receive Proactiv's Hydrating Duo as a free gift. Won't cost you anything. You'll get the Hydrating Duo, which I assume is a couple of twins with hoses. That includes 4 hydrogel masks and a green tea moisturizer. Best of all, you get free shipping. They never cease to amaze me, these companies with their free shipping. Again, visit proactiv.com/IDK to take advantage of this special offer now. That's proactiv/IDK and subscribe to consistently clear skin. Murdered that one.
Katie, so what is depression? Jim said it's when you're sad, basically, you can't pick yourself up, can't get out of bed, constant looping thoughts, paranoia, so forth. But is there an actual definition or?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely symptoms, and Jim got quite a few of them. Like it was the persistent feeling of sadness, which you kind of talked about when, like, what's the difference between it and sadness? Sadness kind of can come and go, but when it's persistent, it lasts for, technically speaking, diagnostically speaking, they say it must last for most of the day, for all days, for at least 2 weeks. So it's like it just is hanging around, ruining things. And then you have a lack of interest or enjoyment in things that you used to like or enjoy. So just that, they call it anhedonia, but it's just like, bleh, you just feel like shit, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's that. And then there's changes in your sleep cycles, like either sleeping too much or not enough, overeating, undereating. And it's just disturbances in sleep and disturbances in appetite, because everybody's different, right? Some people, when they get super stressed or overwhelmed or sad, don't want to eat, and other people want to overeat. Then there's difficulty with concentrating. That's one that's overlooked a lot. And a lot of times we'll think that, we're just We're just stupid because we're depressed, right? So we're thinking poorly about ourselves. But difficulty concentrating is really huge. And then, feeling fatigued, having body aches, those can all be symptoms of depression.
Oh, I didn't have body. I once didn't sleep for about a week or something. My brain didn't turn off. It was it was an hour here, an hour there that I'd drop out.
Yeah.
But I was right in the middle of it, and I was living in London.
Yeah, I know you well enough to think I know when you've been depressed and not you don't sleep. I think that's your thing. Like, it's like you don't, because some people sleep a lot, but I know
I'll stay up 24 hours if I'm depressed.
Which is just torture.
Yeah, because my brain won't turn off.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way to turn it on. And I try to sleep with a TV on. It's like the last time I got depression, I got really into Nazi documentaries. so I'd be laying in bed and then they'd go, and Himmler was having a fight with blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, and Goebbels was trying, he was having an affair with some movie harlot. And I was like, oh, that's what Goebbels is up to. I'd trip off. And then what happened to the Third Reich? And then I'd fall back asleep. Yeah, terrible.
Maybe try Animal Planet next time.
Yeah.
I've done other documentaries. It's so intense, the Nazis, that they were up to no.
Yeah.
If you don't know about them, you don't know about them. they were no good. They were a bunch of rotters. They were. Anyway, so what happens with them is it's so compelling. And it's so bizarre what the Nazis did that my brain actually switches off and starts going, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Where if it's just like The Simpsons or something, my brain won't pay attention to it.
So, it won't lock in.
Yeah, it won't lock in, but I can lock into some Nazi documentaries.
You're like, at least I'm not that guy.
Yeah, I lay in bed going, I'm not Hitler.
Hey, Katie,
paint.
I forget who, but I think it was a therapist. I'm not sure, but somebody told me one time that depression is anger internalized. Is that a way to look at it, or is it?
I've said that before. It's like anger in, because a lot of times, we'll think of certain things. Like I talk about self-injury that way too, that it's just upset in. It's like, I don't know how to express how I feel, so I just take it out on myself.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense, because that's what happened. That's what I do when I get like depressed. I think that's what I'm doing. I'm like really angry about something, and then I'm like bringing it. Like, yeah, and
I sometimes still have the classic, like the childhood thing where I still have repressed memories from my childhood that I'm angry about, that I haven't let go, that people I should have forgiven and stuff like that. I find that is a big step for getting rid of depression. This is my key. If I was a psychologist, tell me if I'm wrong. Forgiveness is the way to get rid of depression. Forgiving the people who you think have wronged you, and more importantly, forgiving yourself if you've done something wrong.
Yeah, I think that is a big part of it. There's a lot more to it, because obviously another symptom I didn't mention of depression, which you kind of touched on, is like suicidal thoughts. Yeah. And those can happen because we feel kind of like hopeless/helpless. But yeah, I mean, you're correct.
And it's funny with it, because I was having suicidal thoughts, and I had a friend who just said something really nice to me that one day, and it just turned everything around for me. Yeah. It was just one sentence. And that's why I do try to, whenever I can be nice to someone, I always try to go, hey, you're good at something or whatever. I always try to do a little thing to pick someone up if I.
Yeah. It's always been confusing to me because, well, especially when it comes to suicide and people talk about how selfish it is. And I've never been sad enough to do this. Like, I attempted suicide when I was 17. I spent 7 days in the ICU. It was never about sadness. And my depression usually manifests in a way that's like apathy. And it's not that I'm sad or something bad happened in my life. It's just, I just don't fucking care about living. And so it's like, if I can just disappear, like the torture of living every day when I'm really depressed doesn't outweigh the pros of like what life. Also, it's not special to me, I guess.
I don't believe it's selfish to commit suicide. Not in their brain anyway. It might be, because even people who have kids, I know people who have committed suicide, even people who have had kids or whatever, their brain gets to a level where they truly believe that everyone will be better off without them.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's when you get to that stage, that's fucking real danger. Right then. I always had at least one person in my mind that really upset me mum. You know what I mean? I always, that would upset me, mum.
I'm at the point now where I know, because I have nephews, that I wouldn't do it. Even if I have suicidal ideations, I'm like, all right, well, that's something I can't touch.
I've never had a suicidal thought since my son's been born.
Yeah. I haven't since I changed careers, actually. Like this changing careers cured my depression for now.
Just hanging out with me must be a real joy for you.
I do love hanging out with you. You're fucking great. All right. This is fun.
All right. So we've put a guest on and I'm doing most of the talking. So sorry, we'll get back there. That's okay. So suicidal thoughts was another one of the symptoms?
Yeah. It's, I mean, obviously people talk about that a lot, but suicidal thoughts aren't always a symptom of depression, but they can be. I think a lot of people think, if you are suicidal, you're depressed. That's not always the case. Just like, we were just talking about.
That's crazy. So there's people who are committing suicide who are in a good mood.
I mean,
They're just hobbyists.
What an A.
Yeah, they're like, I'm never going to beat this day.
you can just feel uncomfortable in your body. You could feel like, hopelessness, like not feeling fulfilled, not feeling like you have purpose. I mean, not all of those, that doesn't always mean that you feel sad all day, every day. That can be like, almost, people talk about like existential crisis. It can feel more like that, where you're like, what is it even worth? Why am I even doing this? I maybe don't feel super sad and, not enjoy certain things, but I have this overall sense of just like, it's not worth it. Like the apathy.
Oh yeah. That's me. Yeah.
So yeah, it's more that it wasn't necessary. You might've had depression, but I always just say that because some people will say, well, I'm not really depressed, but I do have like fleeting thoughts of suicide. And I'm like, yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah. That's why I always said I'd never own a gun, man. People
it'd be
go,
too easy.
What about if someone broke into your house? And why did someone break into my house? After the gun control thing, people would start going, what about? I had all these things because I swear to God, man, if I had a gun, there's some mornings I'd use it as a snooze button. I'm telling you, if it was sitting on the bedside table, you don't want to have that around you.
Right.
Fucking hell, what a bloody horrible thought.
You need to have like protective, we call it like that's a very extreme version, but we call it like having a safety plan. Like you should have something in place so you can't impulsively take your life.
Right.
Especially if you struggle with the thoughts.
I said to my brother that if this past year happened in 2016, there's no way I would have made it out of this year alive. Like, I'm so thankful I'm in a much better place mentally, because I guaranteed I would have offed myself during this last year. So I like really feel for people who are dealing with depression currently in this shit show.
Yeah, suicide rates have gone up, unfortunately, in 2020, because now we kind of have more data. Suicide rates.
And that's what, because of unemployment, or just because people didn't, because people aren't busy, they get more depressed. What about quarantine?
Probably the isolation.
What about quarantine has brought more depression into the world, or more suicide? What is? I have theories, but maybe you.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. Job loss is a big one, especially for men who and men. Statistically speaking, men who attempt suicide actually end up taking their life, whereas women who do, because we tend to try to overdose on pills and things like that, it's just behaviorally, I don't really know why. It's
We're
kind
just
of just
not
like
as good at it.
Yeah. Number one. Men are number one.
Now this might be, I might be about to say something super misogynistic, and it's out of character for me. I'm gonna. Okay, I heard that. Okay, so men hang themselves and men shoot themselves in the head. Right. And women like the pills and maybe the slitting of the wrists over that. I heard it's because when they find the body, they don't want their face all fucked up, because of women admire beauty more.
For the gram.
That could be it. But what I've read, and obviously the people who have taken their own lives, we can't hear from them, so we don't always understand. But people who have attempted said they didn't want to leave a mess. A lot of women just didn't want to leave a mess for people. And they didn't want to be overly traumatic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of that thing.
No, I'm all about the mess. I came into this world in a mess, and that's the way I intend to leave. I came in covered in placenta. I didn't care. That was me. Hello, world.
So go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say the reasons that it's gone up, I think, are as varied as the people. Like job loss is huge with men, especially because a lot of times, and this, I know this sounds very stereotypical, but it is, statistically speaking, men tend to be the breadwinners. So there's more pressure on them if they lost their job. So there's that. Then the isolation is bad. I also think that if you had any glimmer of hope that you were just barely holding on to, this year's been hard for regular people without depression to feel hopeful, right? So that can be tricky and really hard. And then there's there's just so much to it. If you had certain outlets and coping skills, like tons of my patients used to go to group exercise classes, whether it's yoga, the gym, whatever, and that we can't do that anymore. Or I used to go out, for appetizers and drinks with friends on Fridays. And that was my time to connect with people. All of this, I think compounded, not to mention just the fact that we're in our stress response because there's a threat, the virus. And
when you were saying that about the breadwinners and all that type of stuff, I have experienced in the last sort of 8 years a different type of depression, because I have dependents. I have people who rely on me, who I got, even when I had the the Jim Jefferies show, I remember feeling a pressure on me that I was responsible for everyone's jobs in that building. And if the show wasn't picked up, then all these people would be unemployed. And it put me in a bad mood sometimes. But that's why I always, you don't know what was happening in Ellen's head, mate. Maybe Ellen had stresses the rest of them didn't bloody understand. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. This podcast was after Ellen went down and shot that shopping centre.
That's a good callback.
Yeah. I'm just guessing that happened.
She was really stressed out.
Okay, so different types of depressions. Jim said manic depressive, and did you say bipolar is kind
I think bipolar and manic depression is the same thing. Is it just two different names?
Yeah, just two different names. The technically diagnostically we call it bipolar, and there's bipolar 1 and there's bipolar 2. Both can have depression in it. However, bipolar 2 does not have mania. You have hypomania, which is the best way I can describe it is just a lesser amount of mania. You don't reach full blown mania, but so it can be part of that diagnosis. It can be part of people who have schizophrenia, who have psychosis. They can have the depressed type. So you have psychotic symptoms and schizophrenic symptoms as well as depression. You can have psychotic depression on its own. There's another diagnosis for that. There's postpartum depression. Yeah. And then there's even low grade depression. We call it dysthymia, but it's when you just have you kind of just slightly feel bad. It's enough to be upsetting, but often people go years without treatment. And so it can be really devastating that way too.
This might sound like a ridiculous question. Are there people that are too happy?
I mean, that would be mania, maybe.
Yeah, they're they're just living in the highs all the time. If I just go live through the depression, and there are people that are just Betty White's one of those people, right? Every time you see her, she's just I was just so happy to be on Golden Girls, and my husband was just the best, and life's living, and I'm like, what's wrong with you, Betty?
Dolly Parton,
too bloody happy. She writes sad songs, the Parton, but I is that a thing? I don't imagine
they're publicly facing they're happy,
well,
but
I imagine they don't visit the doctor for that. I got to tell you, I'm always in a good mood.
Is it true that depression is often linked to your intelligence level? You find that people that have lower IQs tend to be happier and people with higher IQs tend to be more depressed?
I haven't read anything about that. That's interesting.
I feel like I read an article a couple years ago about that, and it was it was linked, and it was basically because people who have this level of intelligence know too much about the world, and so they're more skeptical about things, whereas lower intelligence, you're kind of life is fun, and you're not thinking about all of those dreadful things that other people hold on to.
I always think that
ignorance is bliss.
University lecturers are always miserable bastards. Every time they're oh God.
I've never met a really smart, happy person.
No, I've never met a really intelligent, happy person. No, and it's the same with religion. It's if you're the less educated people are normally more religious and all that type of stuff, and then, smart people think too much and then they make themselves miserable. Anyway, it's just a theory.
So if you ever feel depressed, just know you're really smart.
Yeah.
And you won't be depressed anymore.
And if you're one of these people, if you're one of these people who are always happy, you moron.
But I don't think there is a diagnosis of being too happy. I mean, mania, people feel elevated, elevated sense of self, I'm so good, look at me, but that's short-lived, and it ends up the come down, kind of like you guys, I guess you had an episode about cocaine recently, that come down, they feel that. So the depression almost always follows very quickly behind the mania.
I know a person who's very clearly a narcissist, very clearly, like proper narcissist. And she is also suffers from depression. That seems weird to me, to think you're wonderful and then to still have depression. They commonly go together?
They don't really think they're great. That's the kind of the false belief around narcissists. Narcissists are good at what I would call puffer chesting, where they're look at me, I'm so good. But inside they're don't look too close. You can't handle it. Right. Usually narcissism is born out of some intense trauma, or could even just be the fact that they just never felt good enough in some way. And so they put on this facade. Think of narcissism as a facade. It's a very dangerous facade, and it hurts other people. And it can be, but it really, it hurts other people a lot, but it also hurts the person who's doing it, because they end up not having relationships. People cut them out of their lives. They usually don't have relationships with their children or their family because it's just too toxic. But that they could be depressed because they really don't feel good about themselves. They just pretend to.
Right.
I asked him what causes depression. He said it can be caused by genetics, nature, and nurture. Sometimes a chemical balance. Does that all sound right? Or
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot. People always say like a chemical imbalance, but we just know that there are a lot of neurotransmitters in your brain, like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, that are all involved. I think glutamate is also part of it. But so a lot of different things in our brain affect our mood. And even especially women, we have monthly cycles of hormones. So progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, we've all heard of these, right? So we have high levels of progesterone make us feel good. So there's a certain point, like right after a period, where women usually feel pretty good. And then it can kind of go down from there depending on how much you lose of the progesterone, because estrogen can make us feel bad. Yay.
Right.
So anyway, truly what causes depression is a lot of things. If you have a blood relative, like one removed from you, so like mom, dad, brother, sister, even grandparent, if they're really close to you, I think it increases your rate up. I think it's like to 26% from, let's say, like 8% or something. So increased rate. Yeah. But then there's also things like we were learning.
I had it on both parents, man.
Yeah.
Both parents had depression. Anyway,
and that's very normal, so in a way the cards were stacked against you, but genetics alone don't cause it. You still have to have like an initiating event, like something that like turns on that gene to make it active. Because we can have, like, I could have a schizophrenic gene right now in my body, but nothing has happened to trigger it. So it'll just be I don't know. I guess the best way is just like not turned on.
Dormant. Yeah.
It's just dormant in my body. And so there is that component, but we're learning more and more every day about depression. And what the newer research shows is that our brains just produce, if we are a depressed brain, it produces fewer neurotransmitters, which leads to a less developed hippocampus, which is responsible for memory, concentration. They also believe it can make our mood better. Also, our amygdala is affected, which is like our fight flight response. And so there's a lot of different parts of our brain that are either underdeveloped, not getting a certain amount of neurotransmitters. And that doesn't mean we're stupid or anything. That's nothing to do with intelligence. It's more about like what parts are running the show and which ones are not running the show. And so, yeah, there's just so much to it. We really don't know, because even if all of us had the same exact brain, our symptoms would be different.
Yeah.
Mm.
Does head traumas give you depression, like the NFL players and all that type of stuff?
Concussions?
It can. Yeah, the concussions, like when you have traumatic brain injury, like TBIs can cause a lot of different things, but usually because your brain is like shaking around in your skull, we have a lot of damage to our prefrontal cortex. Mm-hmm. And that is what like organized thought, planning. And they call it like our personality. I call it like the adult part of your brain. It's the part that's like, you might not want to like run across the street without looking both ways. That doesn't bode well for you. So they can act really impulsively, and they can also be really aggressive. We find aggression to be kind of a side effect of that. But depression, I would assume as well, just because you probably don't feel like yourself. It's probably difficult to concentrate, put words together, which would make you, you know what I mean? You can see how that would lead to that.
Because a lot of ex-NFL players have committed suicide. Mm-hmm. Famously, Junior Seau, that was like a terrible one. But yeah. Louise, can you edit like 10 seconds of puppies playing at this point into the podcast?
Just lighten the mood.
Yeah, just 10 seconds, then we'll come back. No. I asked him if depression is considered mental illness. He said yes. I think that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
That's where you got one of your points. You seem like you did pretty good.
Yeah, you did good.
The difference between depression and sadness. I don't know if we really touched on that, but.
Yeah, sadness it's kind of like what Jim said. It's like it's short-lived. It kind of comes and goes. It can be definitely situational, right? And then depression, like I'd said, is feeling sad most of the day for all day for like at least 2 weeks, kind of. So like most of your time is spent feeling sad.
Yeah, it's like when you have a relative die, you don't go, I'm going through depression. That's sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
sadness,
bereavement.
It's grieving.
I feel like lately you hear a little bit more about like teenagers or younger people having depression, and I'm sure it existed forever, but I never really heard of my friends being depressed when I was in high school. Do you think,
That's
I'm
because
guessing
they were all talking behind your back.
That's probably true. They were all coming to me for advice, actually. But do you think social media is like a big catalyst for that? I can't imagine having gone through high school with social media.
Social media has to contribute.
Yeah.
It contributes.
I wonder if they've done like
it contributes to my depression.
Yeah.
I'm hardly on it. I have other people doing it. I don't do it. I don't like. Jack sends me clips. Do you want to have this clip up? Do you want to have that clip up? And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want maybe that one or whatever. And since I got off social media, my depression has gotten way less. I know it has to be a catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And there's still newer research. Like that's the thing that kind of sucks about people who do research is oftentimes they're like old fuddy-duddies and they're not.
Yeah.
But we're getting to the time. I mean, I'm 37. So I think my generation and around that time are getting into roles where they can do more of this and be more active about it. And my personal thoughts as someone who's on social media and definitely sees a correlation to Jim's point. Like if I'm on it a lot, I'm like, oh, you just start to feel really terrible about yourself in your life. But it's that comparison factor. And the fact that normally when we grow up, like I grew up in a really small town in Washington state, and most people's families made around the same amount of money, right? Because we had like our main businesses and most of the parents worked at one of those main businesses. And so therefore the people I was comparing myself to were people who had the same amount of means and roughly the same education opportunities, right? So it's very balanced. Now I can look online and I'm like, that person's 18. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How did own like a goddamn Louis Vuitton bag? Like I didn't even know what that was. There's like, it's so different now because I'm comparing myself to the world. And I think for children, that's very dangerous because then they don't have like a healthy baseline.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that bit of social media depression sneaks up on you. There's the easy stuff. Someone said I was shit or didn't like or a nasty comment or whatever, where you can read it and go, well, that would make me sad. That's something nasty that someone's done about me. But it's you start looking at other comedians and you're like, oh, well, wait. And then like you start looking at people, they're on holiday all the time. I'm never on bloody holiday. And then it just trickles up on you. It just chips away at you.
It's never one single post. It's just the compilation of all of them together.
And then you got to remember that everybody is showing their best selves. The amount of people I fucking watched on social media where what I hate on social media the most is couples that act like they're fucking they're so and they're just like my husband number one, and they're all like this and they're riding bikes and they're doing fucking photos where they're jumping at the same time and something, you know what I mean? Those cocksuckers, right? and then like a year later, we're getting a divorce,
right?
And you're like, I thought you were the happiest people in the world.
I generally find the more people say something, the less true it is. Like guys always talk about the girls that are like, no, I'm super chill. Like I don't like drama. Like if she has to say that on the first date, run away. Like because that's if you're saying it out loud, it's probably not true. You just
watch The Bachelorette. It's always the girl. It's just like I don't want drama, and then like they're causing drama all over the fucking shop.
You're like,
I'm talking about Victoria. You got buddy taken out last week. You're a pain in the ass. You were, Victoria. I watched The Bachelor.
If you haven't followed us on Instagram yet, please do that. IDCat podcast.
We'll make you feel good about yourself.
But to your point for not using social media, this is a PSA to anybody who messages the IDCat podcast account with screenshots from a Jim Jefferies account. It's not Jim. He's not sending you messages. Please send me 2,000. You are my biggest fan.
There's a whole lot of fake accounts of me where it's just like, so happy to have you as fans. Fun times ahead.
Yeah. It's like, when did you ever talk like that?
You should make a fake one just for fun.
Yeah. People write to me, is this you? And I go, no, but fun times are ahead.
We sort of touched on this. You already did, and some of the other answers. But are there certain groups more at risk, like men or women, or age, or even?
I might have got this one wrong. So let's see how we go here.
Jim said slightly higher in men, peaks around 44, and
Yeah, I mean, statistically speaking, because everybody's at risk. Really, it doesn't. Your mental illness doesn't care who you are, how old you are, any of that. But Jim, you were wrong. Women are twice as likely to suffer depression because if you think about it. Think of postpartum depression. Men, we're the ones that birth babies and have that hormonal.
But we're going to live with you and you bloody get it. Holy hell.
Then we have our monthly hormone cycles. Also, women.
Once again, I'm standing around.
Having to deal with it.
I'm getting yelled at for no apparent reason. Don't tell me that I haven't been in that war.
And then also we enter puberty earlier than men, so that tends to.
But you bloody brag about that as well. Oh God, I remember being in school when you're like 16, and then like the other 16-year-old girls were like, no, and like this, and you're like, we just developed faster than you, and you're like, all right.
Well, that's because that's what we're told growing up is like, well, you mature faster than boys. Like that's our like crowning achievement as little girls because that's what people always tell us. And so that's what we repeat.
I know you're really braggy about it in high school.
I was happy about not maturing. I was like, let's go.
We're still waiting on you, Jack.
Wait till puberty hits, my friend. You're gonna bloody these things. Jack's body is changing as we speak.
You're gonna have some questions when you look down. Be
I'm
sure
really
to call
excited
Jim
for my voice to get deeper.
Yeah, me and Jack were in the locker room the other day, and he wouldn't get changed.
I don't need to wear deodorant. I don't stink.
And is there an age thing too with depression, or that doesn't? It's any age, and because I asked children, and Jim said, yeah, children can be depressed.
I read
too.
this thing about 44. Very recently, I read this because I'm about to turn 44, and I'm like, yeah, good, hitting my prime.
Well, there can be. It doesn't really matter, but there are statistics around like. Whether it's women going into menopause, there's another shift in our hormones as well as men as we, as people get older, there can be shifts as well as kind of like what you're saying, Jim, when you said that was like, well, I thought I would do all of this and I didn't. So there can be that kind of thing too. But yeah, children can have depression as well. So it doesn't discriminate.
Okay.
Remember the field piece we did for the Jefferies show? It was the Korean suicide episode, and they were talking about
dying.
Happy Dying. They had all the societal standards that no one was living up to, so that's why suicide rates were like so high in Korea.
Yeah, in Korea, because you're meant to get married by a certain age. You're meant to have this. You're meant to have a house by a certain age, and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I had depression because I got all those things, and then they didn't make me happy.
Right? Surprise. Doesn't make life better.
I've said it before, maybe on this podcast or other one. I've said it. I always remember this when you got to play Carnegie Hall. And I was at your house, and you're like, I got to play in Carnegie Hall. And literally like 2 or 3 seconds went by, and you're like, yeah, now what? I was like, okay. I
haven't played it a second, though.
Yeah, I know, but you
did over. They only had me the once.
You didn't even enjoy it, though. And at that moment, you weren't enjoying it. I was like, you should be like relishing this. There's plenty of time to feel bad.
Yeah, no, I try to smell the rose. I make a conscious effort sometimes to smell the roses sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than done.
They got thorns. Okay.
You know what brings me happiness? Doing nothing. I found out the secret to my happiness is not family. It's not possessions. It's not career. Doing nothing is my sweet spot.
Being alone.
Look, and I watched my mother sit in a chair for 40 years and not move and just watch TV. And I remember thinking, what a sad life she had. And now I'm like, nailed it, Mum. Nailed it.
So true.
She saw all the Agatha Christie's. She's just watching shit all day.
Yeah.
Watching Deal or No Deal every day.
So, how is it treated? What types of things can people do in their own life to help depression? Jim said therapy, antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs. But what? I know those are things.
Exercise is a big one. Yeah. Exercise, getting more sun because of the serotonin from the sun.
Yeah.
Stop killing people.
That's a good one. Unless it makes you happy.
Yeah, okay, then keep it up.
Yeah, no, there's a lot we can do. And we did forget seasonal affective disorder when you said getting the sun. I'm like, that's another depression.
At the peak of my depression, I was taking drugs all the time, and I was living in London. And then in the winter, I would go to sleep before the sun came up, and I'd wake up after it had gone down. And that was my pattern for like a long time, and I couldn't figure out why I was depressed.
Yeah, we're really affected by that. So yeah, there are things, obviously, Jim, you nailed those things like therapy, medication can be really beneficial for people. But then there's just obviously the exercise, getting sun on your face. But a big one is truthfully noticing the thoughts that you have and not taking your thoughts as facts. because they're just thoughts. They're not
that's
facts.
a good
We
way.
don't have anything to support it. We let these things just live in our brain. We tell ourselves things over and over and over again until we're like, yes, I am a shit person. Look at that, or whatever we believe. I'm a lazy sack, whatever we try to say. We've said it so many times that we believe it. And so if we can just pay attention to those things, and it's not about like, I'm not a proponent, like a person who believes in like positive, just think positive, smile, you'll feel better. I mean, maybe not really. What actually happens is, or what actually works is what I call like bridge statements. Like you're building a bridge from, dumpster fire to like, I don't know, puppy dogs and ice cream island, like a better place, happier place.
Right.
So the thoughts, instead of like, I'm a trash person and a lazy sack, would be like, it's possible that I'm not as bad as I think I am.
Yeah.
I had a friend who when she was younger, used to be a bit of a cutter, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's a 45-year-old lady now, but she had a few cut marks on her. She's quite a successful person, and I asked her. I said, why do you do that? Why did you ever do that? Because I've never self-harmed, And, maybe I've drunk myself into a stupor and I've done things, that type of self-harm, you know what I mean? But not a physical cut, And she said it's because just what you were saying, she had those thoughts that, see, I'm a bad person, see, I'm a bad person, see, I'm a bad person. If she cut herself, she'd go, see, there you go. You're a fucking idiot. You just cut yourself. It gave her the excuse to be depressed because she couldn't even find a reason. So she needed something.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did I say that?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
People self-injure is like a way to cope with how they feel, right? So for her, it was validation. I've had a lot of patients who felt like they were abused as children and no one ever validated that or offered to help them. And so they can feel like, I have so much pain, but nobody will see it here. Here's the pain. I'm showing it to you. I'm showing it to myself. I know it exists. And it's like a physical manifestation of what's happening inside.
Right.
To that point too, I think even just validating your own feelings, like when I'm feeling those things, I try not to judge myself too much for being in a dark place. Like so often your first impulse is to fight that and try to get out of it. And you're judging yourself the whole time, where I just kind of like sit in the moment and go, all right, this is a feeling I'm having, whatever, we'll deal with it. And the less I judge myself for those thoughts, the faster I'm able to recover from them.
Totally. Yeah, because that judgment just like compounding the shitty thoughts.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I find as well with depression is the thing is like the worst thoughts. What if this happens?
Mm-hmm.
What if this happens? My life will be over. And I was that, and now I'm like, no matter how extreme the event that happens, I'll be okay.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll be okay. Something will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I it's tough.
That is the perk of having chronic depression or having it for a long time, because you go through enough of those lows that at least when you get to the low, like when I get to the lows now, I go, this sucks right now, but I will be fine. And the first couple of times it feels like you're drowning and you're never going to get out of it. But it definitely has helped to go through it a few times and be like, you know what? I'm always fucking fine.
Yeah, you have the experience, right? You can be like, it didn't kill me last time. It won't kill me this time. Or, it did get better. I have proof.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what we have to lean into and why we have to challenge those thoughts. Because we're like, I actually don't have any facts to support this. I'm just thinking this.
Totally.
So let's see how this plays out, because chances are it'll be okay.
Not me. I'm perfect. So,
Forrest doesn't get depression. He doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Can it be cured? Jim said, yeah. Well, you can have it and it stops, but it can't be cured. I mean,
You can manage it, but you just got to always be mindful that it could come back. I don't think there's a. Have you ever said to anyone you're cured?
No. I think the more we can compare our mental health to physical health, the better we'll be. Because you think of like, oh, I caught a cold. Okay, I catch those sometimes. Sometimes it turns into bronchitis, or I'll get strep throat, and I'm never going to be cured from that. But it can be treated so it doesn't affect my daily life. I can do what I need to do. Mental health is just the same. So like, oh, okay, maybe I am more predisposed for depression. I've had these episodes in my life. I can find tools and resources, whether it's medication, therapy, a change of job, more friends support, whatever. I have these things that make me feel better. It doesn't affect me anymore. But if I don't take care of myself, I can feel it come back again. It's just managing it.
yeah, but back when we used to do stand-up comedy, I was working on this joke, something that I actually saw, and it's like, we always say mental health. And then for everything else, we're like health. And it's like, it's weird. And I know you make that distinction, but I feel like people still have that line they draw where they're like, it's all health.
They don't take it as seriously as physical health.
I was doing a joke about something I'd seen where like this woman had twisted her ankle, stepped on the sidewalk, and people were helping her. And this guy came up that I don't know if he was homeless or not, but he was mentally ill because he came up galloping on an imaginary horse and said to throw her on and he'd take him to the hospital. And then everyone yelled at him to get away from her. And I was like, yeah, that guy's like injured too.
Yeah.
It's like, but everyone was like, fuck you, guy. And then everyone's like, go
Mind
back
over matter.
Yeah, go eat some dirt or something, you know? And it was like,
No.
and it's just so, we still, as a society, I think we don't really connect those
Yeah,
two.
you could call out of work for the flu, but you rarely do you find a boss that will let you call out of work for mental health issues.
Yeah.
Like I'm having suicidal ideations today, I can't come into work, and it should be taken as seriously as your physical health. But I wonder
100%.
how long it's going to take us to get to that point where it's recognized in that way.
I know. I mean, we're getting there. I will tell you, like in the 9 years I've been online, like it's gone from nobody talking about it to it feels like pretty much everybody's talking about it. But the shifts in our society is going to take a little longer. Like I know a lot of companies now offer mental health days, and you can just take a mental health day and they're like kind of part of your sick days.
Mhm.
But I do think the conversation needs to change, because I really like that example. Like this person tripped on the sidewalk and here's a person who's floridly psychotic. Clearly they both need assistance. And I don't know why we think that we can just like tough through it when it comes to our brain, because our brain is like the hard drive that runs our body.
Yeah.
So like that's
At
ignorant.
the most, all she did was sprain her ankle. This guy
Yeah,
is
I was like,
riding
she's
an
gonna be
invisible
fine.
horse.
Right?
Like,
He could ride his invisible horse right into traffic. He should
Also,
probably
maybe
get
he'll
somehow.
carry her to the hospital.
Yeah.
You don't know. Like,
let him drive.
Right?
I always think maybe I'm crazy and he's the only one who's rational.
Oh.
I
Oh,
never.
maybe.
What if there is a horse?
I never pull out of that thing. Yeah, maybe I'm not seeing the horse. I'm fucking crazy.
and here's something that also like when someone does kill themselves, and this is the thing on social media now, everyone's always like, yeah, hey everybody, and I think this is good. So it's kind of like this 50-50 where people are like, hey, if you know somebody that's feeling bad, make sure you know look out for them or call this number. But I feel like there's a lot of that like grandstanding after something, and people don't really. Yeah.
I've had a couple of people in my life that over the last year I have checked in on them more than I would have if not for 2020.
Mhm.
I do just drop them a line on social media or send them a text and check in on them, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do think that people are a little bit more in tune for that now.
Yeah.
You know.
But I do think you should check in on your friends, and I think you should always check them. When we were on the trip, the last trip we did, and we were going through Europe,
Yeah.
and my mom had passed away like 3 months before that. Your mom passed away that summer too, but
Yeah.
I was still just like really in this malaise kind of thing, and I was angry, and then I was sad, but I was also depressed. I was like this whole thing, and I felt really shitty on that trip, but I was happy to be going there, and it was like. The first couple weeks of that trip, I was having fun and doing stuff, but I'd thrown a phone at Amos's leg and broken on it.
Oh, yeah, I
I'd yelled
remember
at
that
someone.
story.
We were with this guy, Shandy, who's toured us many times, who I'm good friends with, and I shoved him in the airport and then when I got on the plane, I almost got kicked off it. I was like, "Fuck this airline!" I was in a bad state, and we had gotten to Glasgow, and I remember I was talking to you on the phone. We had checked on the hotel, and you just said to me, not in a mean way, you just said, "Hey, Forrest, you really like you kind of checked me in a certain way, not in a mean way. You were just like, it was almost like, are you okay? Like you need to kind of like blah, blah, blah. And it made me feel better that like you had recognized that. And I changed after that. Like I remember.
You turned around. I think it was just like, I'll pay you for the whole trip and all that type of stuff. If you need to go home because you're not happy right now and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
No, but it meant a lot. I was like, yeah, okay.
But you fell over in a puddle and we were all drunk. We were in Prague and you fell over in a puddle and you finally like that. And Amos was we were all drunk and we were all laughing and I could tell you were in a bad mood. So I'd already stopped laughing.
But I was also going to make a point and another thing and I slipped in the puddle.
You were giving a speech. You were being quite righteous as you fucking flipped and bang hit the ground. Amos was laughing and I knew to stop because I could see your eyes. Amos continued laughing. So you were going to get up to hit him or something, but you were just laying in a puddle.
Couldn't move. I was hurt.
You couldn't move. You were too hurt. So you threw your $1,000 phone at him.
That shattered it.
And smashed him.
Got him.
By the way, Amos had a bad knee already. He was with a cane. So I was he got a good leg.
Yeah, he had a bad leg through the vein. And then you're like, Did you find that funny? Was that funny? And they're like, it was really funny. And so we were all trying not to laugh, going, no, it's not funny. Yeah.
To Amos's credit, he was hurt, and he still said something about like I should have been like a bowler in cricket. He goes, you got a good arm there, or whatever.
No, I was walking him home to keep you two separated, and we were going down the road.
I took an Uber. I couldn't walk.
And he was still laughing, and I was like, you can laugh. you can laugh when he can't hear you anymore. Just we'll both laugh in a minute.
Yeah. But I think it is important for you to check on your friends and check them sometimes too, like just to make sure that, like that kind of thing. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of people, especially after somebody commits suicide, they're like, well, they never reached out. And it's like, the depressed person is rarely going to be the person that reaches out. Like, I never want to be a burden. I text one friend usually if I'm ever depressed, and it's my best friend, Colleen. And I'll just be like, hey, I'm having real bad thoughts. And she just goes, hey, don't do that. And that's all I need from her is just to have that check-in. But I don't want to dump my problems on people or my sadness. Like, that makes me sad thinking about burdening somebody.
Yeah, I feel like I've at times had a few people that I've leant on, and I sometimes worry that I lean on them too much,
right,
and that I'm bothering them. And then, so yeah, that's not a good way to do it either. You have to start worrying about that. So
just every once in a while, check in and actually mean it when you check in.
Family member or something, go see a doctor.
And also know you don't have to know what to say. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I have to be able to fix it. No. It's actually better if you don't try. Mm-hmm. It's honestly helpful if you just, like you said, like it's just a simple thing your friend says, right? Don't do that.
Yeah.
So but isn't it true that men and women, like men try to fix things in arguments and women just want to be heard or something like that? I find that the most frustrating thing in our whole fucking society. Why I've just given you a solution. You don't want it. Now I'm in trouble for mansplaining. What the fuck did I do wrong?
A solution is invalidating. It's like, oh, you could just fix this. It doesn't feel, a lot of times for people, especially women, we like to be heard first. Like sometimes I'll tell my husband, I'm like, you can have a solution. I'm just not ready for it yet. Like right now, I just want you to hear me out. And then maybe tomorrow I'll be up for a solution. Sometimes you just need to be validated first where you're like, yeah, that was horrible. Or I'm sorry you're feeling that way or anything like that. So when you check in on people, I can feel the resistance, but it's okay.
I like what you said there better. Like maybe you'll be ready for a solution later. Like that at least makes a little bit more sense.
I agree with that. Like I have the same problem with, I've stopped giving people solutions, but I know when the few times I have vented and people are like, oh, you should do X, Y, and Z, I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah.
I will tell them I'm not looking for a solution.
I just want somebody to tell me this sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Just commiserate,
if you get
please.
the solution too quickly, it's like, well, then what the fuck are you upset about? You could fix it easily.
Oh,
and you're like, no, I just want to be upset for a second because somebody wronged me. Just listen.
But the few times I get to vent, just
I don't take advantage of this often. Just fucking listen to me.
Just listen, please.
Yeah. Sometimes we just need a tantrum, right?
Yeah.
That person was a jackass. I need to express that. And then maybe tomorrow or later today or whatever, depending on what it is, then maybe we can talk about solutions. But yeah, I think that's the thing that people worry about is like, oh, I need to have something to tell them. And it's like, no, a lot of people just want someone to just show up, be like, hey, no, with COVID, things are a little tricky, but if they're in your, safe for you to see them, like sometimes just showing up with like takeout and like, hey, let's just watch some Netflix is like all people need.
This is a thing that they reckon happened after quarantine ended, that they just found bodies everywhere. Like people had killed their wives and husbands and stuff like that because people like when they're in the deep quarantine, right? When people were like, when we first started, we weren't leaving our houses and we were all like that type of stuff. Someone has to go missing for like 48 hours before they can call the cops. Yeah. And now it's just like, no, she doesn't want to get on the phone.
I did think about that at the beginning. I'm like, if I die in my apartment, nobody will know for weeks.
The cops were literally like, there's been no murders for 3 weeks. Oh, there has been. They just haven't been reported yet. They're coming.
They don't stink yet. The bodies don't stink.
Nobody's found them yet.
Yeah. I know that was off the topic a bit, but that was playing on me mind.
Let's throw some more puppies in there, Luis. All right, here's the part of the show called Dinner Party Facts, where we ask our expert to give us some facts or something interesting for our listeners and viewers to have at home so they can say they know something about this topic or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, fun to know facts is why it's so easy to remember the bad things and so easy to negate the good. Neurologically, our brain is programmed to seek out threat, which if you think about makes a lot of sense, right? It's always assessing our environment for threats to our safety. But because we're not cave people anymore and the threats aren't like a bear wrestling in the bushes, the threats are usually emotional, right? We find things online. We read it, one nasty comment, even though there's 500 good ones. And we're like, that son of a bit, all we can think about. And we can like verbatim remember all the nasty things. It's because our brain is programmed to do that, to be like, that person's a threat. All of these nice ones aren't. And I always find that really interesting because people are like, why is it so easy to remember the bad things? Why don't I remember the good things? That's why.
Because I literally had that conversation with Jack last night.
Is that similar to, I was saying this to the forest just the other day, that loss is more powerful than gain. So like if you find $5, you're excited, but if you lose $5 and you can't find it in any pocket, you're pissed off about it all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if someone dies in your life, it's devastating. Baby's born, it's nice, I'll go see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not threatening. It's not harming you emotionally, right? Good stuff doesn't take from you.
Yeah, golly.
That's really good to know, just in case we're ever like, because I think we all do that.
Yeah.
Jack was talking to me. Jack got 30 really nice comments about something he did on the podcast last week, and there was one that wasn't even mean. It was just like vague. Vaguely not positive, and he's like, I don't know why I keep looking at that one. I was like, people fucking loved it.
I fucking had spelling mistakes in that comment and everything.
Always.
I was surprised by the grammar.
It's funny sometimes when we talk to you in the pre-interview, we know the dinner party facts. We did not know that one, and that one's like so pertinent to like all of us.
It's so accurate to what we go through.
Fucking cavemen. Always goes back to the bloody cavemen. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast. We appreciate it. I know our listeners will enjoy this one.
Yeah.
And if you are depressed, reach out to someone.
Let me just say one more time. Her podcast is called Ask Kati Anything. That's Kati, and her YouTube channel is Kati Morton. Her Instagram and Twitter is @Kati Morton, and her book is Are You Okay? A Guide to Caring for Your Mental Health. And then what's the one coming out in September?
It's called Traumatized.
All right.
Perfect.
It's all about trauma. Yeah. It's kind of ironic and sad at the same time because we put the proposal together like pre-COVID, and then we had to like completely rework it because we've all essentially suffered a trauma this last year, and so having to integrate that was tricky, but it was also weird to write it as I feel like I'm going through it myself. So yeah, it's called Traumatized. It'll be out September 2021.
Yeah, so follow her on Instagram or Twitter, or listen to the podcast or YouTube, and you'll know when the book's coming out.
Well, that's our podcast, ladies and gentlemen. If you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and goes, I've been sad for 5 minutes, I think I'm depressed. Go, well, I don't know about that.